Really hope that they don't boost the right even further and turn it into Twitter 2.0. Because if TikTok goes by the way of Twitter, we're done. It's over. Global permanent regime. Every single social media platform in the United States of America is incredibly slanted to the right. Now, one of the things that I want to say, and also Trump simultaneously takes advantage of any outlet, any mode of communication that will give him a benefit, that will boost him, that will accelerate the right wing, the right wing attitude, like that will serve the purpose of pushing right wing messaging. Okay, Jeff Bezos owns a newspaper. Jeff Bezos owns Washington Post. Elon Musk owns Twitter. Google owns YouTube, and obviously Google as well, and numerous other properties. Mark Zuckerberg owns Facebook. And the last part of that equation, Tim Cook obviously owns Apple. The last part of that equation was TikTok. And we know, and as I've covered this before, TikTok wanted to get in the good graces of the Trump administration, or at least like the Republican Party, because they thought if we actually glaze Donald Trump, they won't get us banned. And we can continue having TikTok. And it worked. At least so far, it has worked. And here it is, the CEO of TikTok sitting next to the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, at President Trump's inauguration. How do people still think the Republican Party is against the establishment and the elite? Marketing. The reason why people think the Republican Party is against the establishment and the elite, despite the fact that it's comprised entirely of the elite and it's comprised entirely of the establishment, and it is the establishment once again, is because of marketing. Because they think, it's the same reason why people think that someone like Ted Cruz, okay, or any number of different like Republican politicians are real salt of the earth guys, and AOC, in spite of the fact that she was a bartender 4 years ago or 5 years ago, is actually not a real salt of the earth kind of person and not close to the working class because she's a brown woman, okay, from New York. Ted Cruz wears the snakeskin boots and can then adorn the aesthetics of the working class. And that's what it is. People respond to that. In the United States of America, because class politics are so muddied, so eviscerated, so thoroughly gutted, that how you look and how you carry yourself and how close you are to being like racist is a better signifier in the eyes of many for being working class, for being of a working class background, than being quote unquote woke. Wokeness is identified with elitism. The Democratic Party is identified with HR, management, professional managerial class, at least up until now. Okay, and that's it. Now, obviously, there's issues, or rather, I have that same hat. Goddamn. There's obviously reasons for why. Like I think the Democratic Party's ineptitude, in my opinion, has also contributed to this as well. Stop giving a shit. Thank you for the 20 gifted subs. Allowing 20 people to no longer see the ads at the middle of the hour or the top of the hour, even though I don't run the ads any longer. But you too can subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Twitch Prime is free if you want to support the broadcast.
Good afternoon.
Here's Trump's
greatest.
Here's Trump's
inauguration day ever.
Campaign head, or whatever his name is, the guy who's in charge of like the new
Today
cabinet
is one of the
appointments.
most important days in American history because Donald J. Trump is right now heading back to the White House. I could not be prouder to be standing before you.
There's one thing that I'm also worried about with respect to TikTok. Remember what I said about TikTok, like juicing right-wing algo stuff? I will admit that, what is happening? I will admit that I worry about what the TikTok algorithm is going to look like. What the TikTok algorithm is going to look like in the Trump administration. I really, really, really hope they don't boost the right even further and turn it into Twitter 2.0. Because if TikTok goes by the way of Twitter, we're done. It's over. Global permanent regime. Every single social media platform in the United States of America is incredibly slanted to the right. Now, one of the things that I want to say, one of the things that I noticed that I saw, this is, a lot of people are saying this now. A lot of people are posting stuff like this. I don't know the veracity of this, but TikTok is now region locking Americans from looking up things like Donald Trump election. On the left are results from a device in America. On the right are results from the UK. This might be fake. I don't think this is like this is all these people are immediately rushing to this. Like, I don't know if that's a real thing or not. Like, I'm looking up and it's showing up. I don't know why people are saying that it's not showing up. I tried it. It's not Donald Trump rigged election. Yeah, it's working. Oh, it says the Donald Trump rigged election. The phrase may be associated with behavior or content that violates our guidelines. Okay, that's new. Wait, let me see. Donald Trump sucks. Okay, you can still look that up. Yeah, no, I hold on. Let me go on TikTok desktop. Let's see if the TikTok desktop is working in a similar way. Donald Trump rigged election is no longer allowed. That's weird. Hold on. Oh my God. Yeah. Donald Trump rigged election. When you search, it says this phrase may be associated with behavior or content that violates our guidelines. Promoting a safe and positive experience is TikTok's top priority. Oh my God. We're turning into the f***ing Republicans. Let's see. Joe Biden rigged election. No, it's not. Yeah. Rigged election is not allowed. No. See, it won't let you do Joe Biden. Let's see. Rigged election. Yeah, rigged election is not working. No, fascism comes up with stuff. I looked it up before. Yeah, fascism still shows up. Trump Epstein, that stuff comes up. And I'm pretty sure like Gaza or genocide and things like that still, yeah, there's no deboosting on that stuff. Okay, I don't think it's I think this is just like a rigged election thing, maybe to comply with, like, I'm telling you right now, I think the rigged election one might be to just like, at a time when they were getting yelled at quite a bit by everyone with suspicions that TikTok might rig the election or whatever, they might have just like simply added this extra precaution. Does that make sense? Because there was obviously an election that took place in America, and considering that people were very upset, or people were very suspicious about TikTok potentially some of the election or whatever, Free Palestine is being censored. No, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah, Free Luigi is not being censored either. You're wrong. I don't know why people are just doing that. Anyway, people are kind of latching on to anything right now. Yeah, I think that it is important for you in this time to not immediately jump to certain conclusions. What do I always say? If a narrative seems too good to be true, okay, there is a likelihood that it might be false. Just whenever you see something online that corresponds to your existing biases, okay, the first thing you should do, instead of immediately adopting that as the truth, the first thing you should do, and sometimes it might be true, but the first thing you should do always is to go, wait a minute, let me check to make sure. He explained this beautifully. It's a 404. Can't find the I don't know what the link you're sending me. The term rigged election seems to be the issue. Also typed in Bush and Gore and that showed nothing. This is healthy. Okay, it's healthy whenever you see a narrative, whenever you see something, okay, that corresponds to what you already believe. Please, first thing you should always do is check yourself and be as critical as you possibly can be.
Thing that we can do right now. If you heard,
I do think that the TikTok CEO and TikTok in general absolutely boosted Charlie Kirk. I've talked about this before. And I think the reason why they did that is because they thought if they boost Charlie Kirk has Trump's ear, and he will say nice things about TikTok, and he will talk about how TikTok is wonderful for making the youth more right wing. I do believe that. This is something that I have talked about quite a bit. And actually, as far as it stands, it was a successful gambit. Now, having said that, will they continue doing that? Probably. I don't know. TikTok, as far as I have seen from my own personal anecdotes, but also from like some of the relatively shitty media analysis that is readily available, TikTok is the only social media platform that has parity in terms of political ideology. Every other platform is dominated and slanted to the right. Every single one, right? TikTok is the only platform where there is some semblance of parity. This is important to acknowledge. But that doesn't mean that there isn't right-wing content on that platform. Of course there is. Of course there is, right? And I think one of the best arguments that I saw about this, one of the best warnings that I saw came from, what's his name? Is it Garrett Hayes or Garrison Hayes? Where is it? One of the best videos I saw on this.
You know, I hate
here. I want you to watch this because I think it's a pretty solid take. Let's take a look.
to have a wrong opinion on a day like today. This is the worst possible day to have a bad opinion because you won't get a chance to fix it tomorrow. But have you considered...
Why are people in here accepting the liberal framing that TikTok is a communist app? Weakest Ugobnik enjoyer. I don't think people are accepting that TikTok is a communist app. I think people are simply looking at the situation and recognizing that TikTok is one of the only social media platforms where there have been opportunities for like actually leftists, communists, socialists, and very progressive people in building a platform. Okay. And I think that is part of the reason why people think that, you know, just let my man, I'm going to let my man Garrison do the talking. Okay.
Consider that a lot of your political enemies want to save TikTok. Like the right-wing propaganda machine known as Turning Point USA bragged that they were doing 60 million views a day leading up to the election, like this just this past election cycle on TikTok alone. If there is anyone who understands the impact of getting that many views per day, it is your soon-to-be president, Donald J. Trump, the man who actively lobbied the Supreme Court to save this app. If you were one of the many people who were wondering why so many young people were turning toward the right, especially in this past election, it is at least in part because while your side of the algorithm is gender justice and free Palestine, there is another side of the algorithm. And it isn't made up of a small number of people. There are a ton of people on that other side of the algorithm. It is essentially a full-blown hate crime factory. Like, it's just convincing people to hate other people constantly. And I think the political enemies of the marginalized know this. They did the calculations and are trying to preserve this thing, this app, because they think it provides them with a strategic advantage in the long run. Maybe just in general. Clearly it was some strategic advantage just this past cycle. Listen, I love TikTok. This app literally changed my life. I met some amazing people through this app. You all who follow me are incredible, and I hope you'll come subscribe on YouTube. But this is just something to consider. Like, who stands to benefit the most from a power perspective from this place? And
so I don't disagree with this. I think that it's important to also recognize this aspect of it, because on the one hand, while TikTok still has some semblance of parity, ideological parity, that still means that there is a steady flow of insane right-wing nonsense on there. Okay. And I do think that right-wingers understand the value that TikTok gives them in terms of propaganda. the value that TikTok offers them in terms of yet another platform where they can supercharge their right-wing propaganda, reactionary content that creates loyal soldiers for the Republican Party and creates loyal soldiers for the reactionary movement in general. Okay, it doesn't have to immediately, it doesn't have to actually make, for example, young men, right, into people that are card-carrying Republican Party voters. That's not the project. The project is, as long as they are apolitical but right-wing in a lot of these like key issues, they can be captured. Their attention can always be captured, and their anger and resentment can always be weaponized. And I do think that that is, I do think that that's important to recognize, and it goes along with something that I've been warning about quite a bit in terms of like how right-wing young male spaces look like nowadays. And TikTok, just like every other platform, TikTok is not alone in this, and TikTok is far from the worst platform on this issue. YouTube is terrible for this. Okay, Twitter is obviously the worst one out of all of them. Facebook doesn't really have a lot of young people, but Facebook is also very right-wing as well. Like all of the social media platforms that we use that are seen as like the only places where people can gather and communicate with one another are incredibly slanted to the right. That is devastating. Okay? This was part of the reason why I maintained the position that that you know, TikTok was while still churning out right-wing propaganda at an alarming rate, still had some semblance of leftist commentary on it as well. And I know that people will say, Hasan, this is just like silly social media platform stuff. Like, why do you care about this so much? But in an environment where we do not have any sort of organizational tools, and that our production capacities, our forces of production are basically moving away from the assembly line, so that we are more alienated from our labor and we're more isolated from one another, which makes it harder to organize, which makes it harder to recognize solidarity, class solidarity, specifically amongst workers. The only place where people actually gather in groups are online. And online spaces can be easily manipulated. Online spaces can be easily manipulated, easily brigaded, change people's attitudes over certain things. And the more time we spend online and away from other people, the worse I think these organizational tools will become. The more right-wing these social media platforms get, the worse things get overall. Yes, but isn't TikTok most views for progressive content versus other social platforms? I know, that's why I'm saying that like TikTok has been both a benefit and a burden at the same time, but in comparison to all the other content platforms out there, it's certainly not the worst. It's definitely better than the other ones. And that is part of the reason why I maintain the position that TikTok shouldn't get banned. That's the reason why I think people wanted TikTok to get banned. That's what carried it over the finish line.
This one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you.
Anyway, let's look at one of these tech billionaire oligarchs speaking at the inauguration.